The classroom smelled like dry markers and dust. 30 students. One new boy. Say it again. The teacher tapped the desk with her pen. Arman stood frozen. I said industry. A few kids snorted. The teacher smiled, but not kindly. No, not industry. She leaned closer. It's industry. Can you hear the difference? Silence stretched. Arman swallowed. I am trying, ma'am. A boy in the front whispered. Bro sounds like Google Translate. Laughter broke out. Sharp, loud, cutting. The teacher didn't stop it. Instead, she crossed her arms. This is a senior class. We don't have time for this. The words hit harder than the laughter. Arman's fingers tightened around the book. I can improve. She tilted her head. Can you? A pause. Then, slow, deliberate. Or are you just not ready for this level? The room shifted. Something deeper than embarrassment settled in. A quiet kind of judgment. Arman looked down, but his voice, when it came out again, was steady. Give me one more chance. The teacher sighed. Fine. One last try. He took a breath, opened his mouth, and the classroom door suddenly opened. A man stepped in. Suit, clipboard, sharp eyes. The teacher straightened instantly. Oh, sir, we weren't expecting. The man scanned the room, then stopped, right on Arman, and said one sentence that changed everything. Is this the student we received a complaint about? Silence. Heavy. And suddenly, Arman wasn't just being judged anymore. He was being watched. The hallway door clicked shut behind them. But inside the classroom, everything had changed. The man in the suit didn't sit. He stood near the board, flipping through his clipboard. The teacher straightened her posture. Class, continue reading silently. No one moved. All eyes were on Arman. The man looked up. You're Arman Khan? Arman nodded slowly. Yes, sir. The man stepped closer. Not too close. Just enough to feel it. I heard there was some difficulty. A pause. Arman opened his mouth, but the teacher spoke first. He's still adjusting, she said smoothly. Language barriers. Confidence issues. Arman's chest tightened. I can speak, he said quietly. The man glanced at him, then back at the teacher. How long has he been here? 3 days. And already struggling with basic pronunciation. It wasn't a question. It was a conclusion. Arman felt heat rise in his face. I just need time. The man tilted his head. Time is something this curriculum doesn't always allow. Silence. A girl in the second row whispered. Told you. Arman heard it. Every word. The teacher walked toward the desk, picked up his book. Go ahead, she said. Show him. Her tone was different now. Sharper. Performative. Arman stepped forward again. The same page. The same paragraph. But this time, 30 students weren't just classmates. They were witnesses. He started reading. The industrial. A slight stumble. He corrected it quickly. Industrial revolution changed. Better. Clearer. But not perfect. The man raised a hand. Stop. Arman froze. The room held its breath. The man scribbled something, then looked at the teacher. Do you think he's keeping up? The teacher hesitated. Just for a second, but Arman saw it. That calculation. That depends, she said carefully, on how we define keeping up. A few students smirked again. The man nodded slowly. Fair. Then he turned back to Arman. Tell me, do you understand what you just read? Arman blinked. Yes. Explain it. His mind raced. Words came, but slower than his thoughts. It was about machines changing how people work. Factories. Production faster. The man watched him. Expression unreadable. Then, simple understanding. Not praise. Not approval. Just a label. Arman felt it land. The teacher stepped in again. He may benefit from a different track. There it was. Soft, but sharp. Arman looked at her. A different track? She didn't meet his eyes. Something more suitable. The word echoed. Suitable. Like he didn't fit. Like he didn't belong. I can do this, Arman said. Stronger this time. A boy in the back scoffed. Then do it properly. Laughter, quieter now but still there. The man closed his clipboard. Let's not rush conclusions. But his tone didn't offend Arman. It balanced. Neutral. Too neutral. He looked around the class. Environment matters. A pause. And pressure reveals ability. His eyes returned to Arman. Right now, I'm not seeing clarity. Arman's throat tightened. I'm just nervous. The teacher exhaled softly. Exactly. Agreement, not support. The man nodded. Understandable. Then, step outside with me. The words dropped quietly, but they hit loud. Arman didn't move. Now, he asked. Yes. The class shifted. Chairs creaked. Eyes followed him. The teacher gave a small, tight smile. Go on. Arman walked toward the door, each step heavier than before. He reached the handle, paused, just for a second, then opened it. The hallway felt colder, quieter, different. The door closed behind him, cutting off the classroom, cutting off the laughter, but not the feeling. The man stood beside him, flipped the clipboard again. Let's talk. Arman nodded, trying to stay steady. But inside, something was slipping. Not confidence. Something deeper. Something harder to rebuild. The man looked at him, then said, We need to discuss whether this is the right place for you. And just like that, it wasn't about pronunciation anymore. It was about belonging. The hallway felt too quiet, like every sound had been turned down, except his heartbeat. The man walked a few steps ahead, then stopped near a window. Sunlight cut across the floor. Stand here, he said. Arman obeyed, hands at his sides. Try not to look small. The man glanced at his clipboard, then at him. Where are you from, Arman? The question sounded simple, but it didn't feel simple. From here, Arman said. A pause. The man's eyebrow lifted slightly. I mean originally. Arman hesitated. My family moved a lot. That's not what I asked. The words were calm, but firm. Arman swallowed. Rural area, outside the city. The man nodded slowly, as if something had just been confirmed. First school there? Yes. And the language of instruction? Local mostly. Another note on the clipboard. Scratch. Scratch. Arman watched the pen move. Each word felt like it was deciding something. You understand why this matters? The man asked. Arman shook his head. Not really. The man stepped closer. Not aggressive, just closer. This institution runs at a certain level, he said. Students are expected to meet that level. I can meet it, Arman said quickly. The man didn't respond right away. He studied Arman's face, as if looking for something missing. Confidence is not the same as competence, he said. The sentence landed heavy. Arman opened his mouth, but footsteps echoed behind them. The teacher approached, composed, controlled. Everything all right? She asked. The man nodded. We're just discussing background. The teacher smiled politely, then glanced at Arman. A quick look, but it said enough. I mentioned earlier, she said. He's still adjusting. Arman felt the word again. Adjusting, like he was out of place. I'm learning fast, he said. The teacher tilted her head. Learning, yes. A pause. But keeping up is different. The man tapped his pen against the clipboard. Has he shown improvement? The teacher didn't answer immediately. She folded her arms, thinking, or pretending to think. There's effort, she said finally. Another pause. But effort doesn't always translate. Arman felt something tighten in his chest. I answered your question, he said, looking at the man, about the passage. Yes, the man said. Then why does it sound like I failed? Silence. The teacher's expression shifted. Slightly sharper now. No one said you failed. But you're saying I don't belong. The hallway felt colder. The man stepped in. Let's stay objective. Objective. Arman almost laughed, but didn't. The teacher sighed softly. Arman, this isn't personal. It felt personal. Every word of it. We just need to make sure you're in the right environment. There it is again, Arman said quietly. Right environment. The man looked at him. Do you feel this environment is right for you? The question hung in the air. Heavy, tricky. If he said yes, they'd test him harder. If he said no, they'd move him. Arman took a breath. I just need time. The teacher shook her head slightly. Time isn't something we can stretch for one student. One student. The words echoed, like he was a burden. The man scribbled something again. Then, have there been any disruptions? The teacher answered instantly. Minor ones. Arman turned to her. What disruptions? She didn't look at him. Moments of hesitation, slowing down the class. That's not disruption. It affects flow. The man nodded, understood. Arman felt the ground shift again. Every answer was shaping something. Something bigger than this hallway. I stay quiet, he said. I don't disturb anyone. The teacher gave a small smile. Silence can also be a problem. Arman blinked. How? If it means you're not engaging. The logic twisted, turned against him. He looked at the man. Is this already decided? The question came out before he could stop it. The man paused, closed the clipboard. Nothing is decided. But his tone didn't convince. We're evaluating options. Options, like he was a case file, not a student. A door opened down the hall. A staff member stepped out, paused, looked at them. Something in the air was obvious. Tension. But the staff member looked away, kept walking, didn't stop, didn't ask. Silence. Again, the teacher checked her watch. I should get back to class. She turned to Arman. Take this seriously. Then walked away, just like that, leaving him there, with the man and the clipboard. The man looked at him again, longer this time. Tell me honestly, he said, do you think you can handle this level? Arman's throat tightened. He wanted to say yes, strong, confident, but the words in the hallway, the looks, the laughter, they all pressed down on him. I can try, he said. The man exhaled slowly. That's not the same answer. Arman didn't respond. The man nodded, as if that silence meant something. Then, we may need to reconsider your placement. The words hit harder than anything before. Reconsider, not improve, not support, move. Arman stared at him. Because of my accent? The man didn't answer directly. It's not just about accent. Then what is it? A pause. Then, fit. That word again. Clean. Simple. But cutting. Arman looked down. Then back up. I understand everything, he said. I just don't say it the way you expect. The man studied him. For a moment, there was something softer. Something almost human. But it passed. Quick. We'll review your case, he said. Case. Not name. Not person. Case. The hallway felt even colder now. The man stepped back. Returned to class. Arman didn't move. Not yet. Am I being removed? He asked. The man paused, then said quietly, that's a possibility. And just like that, the floor beneath him felt unstable. Like one more word, one more mistake, and everything would shift. The door opened. All eyes turned. Again, Arman stepped inside. Slower this time. Quieter. But the room didn't feel the same anymore. It felt decided. The teacher glanced up. Back already? A few students chuckled. Arman didn't respond. He walked to his seat, sat down, opened his book, but the words blurred. Not because he couldn't read them, because he could feel it. Something had changed. A boy leaned over from the next desk. So, he whispered, they kicking you out? Arman kept his eyes on the page. No, not yet. The boy smirked. Laughter, low, controlled, different from before. Less loud, more certain, like they already knew the ending. The teacher tapped the board. Let's continue. Her tone had shifted too. Slower now, simpler, but not kinder. Arman, she said. He looked up. Can you read the first line? The class turned again, waiting, watching. He hesitated, just for a second, then started. The Industrial Revolution. Stop. Too quick, too sharp. Arman froze. The teacher smiled. Let's break it down. She wrote the word on the board, industrial, then underlined it. Repeat after me. A pause. Industry. A few students snorted. Arman felt heat rise in his chest. "That's not how I said it," he replied quietly. The teacher raised an eyebrow. "Oh," he swallowed. "I said it correctly." The room shifted. That wasn't expected. The teacher turned fully toward him now. "Then say it again." Her tone was calm, but there was something underneath. A challenge. Arman sat up straighter. "Industrial." Clear. Not perfect, but clear. Silence. A few students exchanged looks. The teacher didn't smile this time. Instead, she nodded slowly. "Better." A pause. Then, but still not quite there. The words landed softer, but they still landed. Arman looked down. His fingers tightened around the edge of the desk. "Let's not hold the class back," she added. There it was. Again, not loud, but sharp. A girl in the front row whispered, "He's slowing everything." Another voice behind him, "Why is he even here?" Arman heard both. Every word. The teacher turned back to board. "Open page 42. The class moved on. Just like that. As if nothing had happened. But everything had. Arman stared at the page. Lines of text. Clear, readable, understandable. But now they felt heavier. Like proof. Or something he had to prove. Across the room, a phone shifted slightly. Almost unnoticed. The camera lens pointed forward. Recording. Later, the bell rang. Students stood. Chairs scraped. Voices returned. But softer around him. Different. A group passed by his desk. One of them said, just loud enough, "Placement reconsideration." Another replied, "Yeah, makes sense." They walked off, laughing quietly. Arman packed his bag slowly. Each movement controlled. Measured, like if he rushed, something might break. "Hey!" He looked up. A girl stood near his desk. Not smiling. Not mocking. Just there. "You okay?" she asked. The question felt strange. Like it didn't belong here. "I'm fine," he said. She hesitated. Then, "They shouldn't talk like that." Arman nodded, but didn't say anything, because it didn't change anything. She glanced toward the teacher's desk, then back at him. "I heard what she said earlier." A pause. "It wasn't right." Arman looked at her. Really looked this time. "Then why didn't you say anything?" The question came out before he could stop it. She froze. Just for a second. I didn't want to make it worse." Worse. The word hung there. Heavy. Arman nodded slowly. "Yeah." She shifted her weight. "I'm sorry." Then walked away. Just like that. Another silence. Another moment. Gone. At home. The room was quiet. Fan spinning. Same as always. Arman sat at his desk. Notebook open. Words written carefully. Over and over. Industrial. 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 He whispered it. Again. Clear. Controlled. His father stood in the doorway. Watching. "You're still practicing?" he asked. Arman nodded. "It's not about the word," he said. His father stepped closer. "Then what is it?" Arman looked down at the page. "They think I don't belong there." Silence. His father didn't respond immediately. Then, "Do you?" The question was simple, but it wasn't easy. Arman took a breath. "Yes." A pause. Then, "I just don't sound like them." His father nodded slowly. "That's not the same thing." Arman didn't answer, because right now, it felt like it was back in the classroom. Earlier that day, the phone in the corner had captured everything. The laughter, the correction, the tone, the words. "Let's not hold the class back." Now, that video sat on a screen, paused, waiting. A thumb hovered over the send button, hesitated, then tapped. Message sent. No undo, no warning. No one in the classroom knew. Not the teacher, not the students, not Arman. But somewhere, someone was about to see everything. And once they did, things wouldn't stay quiet anymore. The classroom felt different the next day. Quieter, not peaceful, tense, like everyone was waiting for something. Arman took his seat. No one spoke to him, but they watched. Quick glances, then away. The teacher walked in, on time, composed. As always, Open your books. Her voice was steady. Normal. Too normal. Like nothing had happened. Arman opened his book. Page 47. The words sat there. Clear. Simple. But the air around them. Heavy. Today we'll read aloud, the teacher said. A pause. Then, Arman. The name dropped instantly. No build-up. No hesitation. A few students shifted in their seats. Here it comes. Arman stood. Slow. Controlled. He walked to the front. The same place. The same board. The same eyes watching him. Start from the top, she said. He nodded. Took a breath. The Industrial Revolution. Again. Too fast. Too sharp. Arman blinked. I said it correctly. The teacher smiled slightly. Let's make sure. A few students smirked. The pressure built. Fast. Tight. Arman tried again. The Industrial Revolution. Better, she said. Then, but not enough. The words hit harder this time, because they came after effort, after correction, after trying. A boy whispered, "He'll never get it." A girl added, "Why is he still here?" Arman heard both. His chest tightened, but he didn't stop. He kept reading, pushed through, clearer now, stronger, each sentence better than the last. For a moment, it worked. The room quieted. Even the whispers stopped, until the teacher stepped in again. Pause. Arman looked up. Her expression was calm, but her eyes cold. "You're improving," she said. A pause. Then, "But the gap is still there." Gap. The word echoed, like distance, like separation, like he was always behind. "I'm catching up," Arman said. His voice wasn't quiet anymore. The class shifted. That tone was new. The teacher raised an eyebrow. "Are you?" A challenge. Open. Direct. "Yes." The word came out firm. No hesitation. The room stilled. A boy in the back laughed nervously. This should be good. The teacher stepped closer. Not aggressive, but deliberate. "Then prove it," she said. Arman felt the weight of every eye, every expectation, every doubt. He looked at the page, then back at her. "I already am." Silence. The kind that stretches, the kind that cracks. The teacher smiled. But this time, it wasn't controlled. It was tight, sharp. Confidence without consistency doesn't mean much. The sentence cut clean. Arman's jaw tightened. "I understand everything," he said. "You just don't like how I sound." The room froze. No whispers now. No laughter. Just silence. Heavy. Real. The teacher's expression changed. Slightly. But enough. "Be careful," she said quietly. "That's a serious claim." "I'm not claiming anything," Arman replied. "I'm saying what's happening." The tension snapped tighter. A girl near the window looked down. Another student shifted uncomfortably. The teacher crossed her arms. "This is exactly what I mean," she said. "Disruption." "That's not disruption. It affects the class." "It affects me," Arman said. The words came faster now. Stronger. Real. "I try. I practice. I answer. And it's still not enough." The room held its breath. The teacher stepped forward, lowered her voice. "Sit down." "No." The word slipped out. Before he could stop it, silence exploded. Not loud, but powerful. The teacher's eyes narrowed. "You don't refuse instructions." "I'm not refusing," Arman said. "I'm explaining." "That's not your role." "Then what is?" The question hung. Sharp. Uncomfortable. Real. The teacher didn't answer. For a moment, she couldn't. Then, a knock. The door opened. The principal stepped in. Everything froze. Instantly, the teacher straightened. "Sir, we were just—" "I heard enough," the principal said. His voice was calm, but firm. He stepped inside, looked at Arman, then at the teacher. "Both of you." A pause. "My office. Now." No room for argument. No room for explanation. Just instruction. The class stayed silent, watching, processing, as Arman stepped back, as the teacher gathered herself. As the balance shifted, again, different this time, not subtle, not hidden. Something had broken, and now it couldn't be ignored. They walked out, side by side, but the silence behind them was louder than anything before. The office door closed. Soft click, but it sounded final. Arman stood near the chair. Didn't sit, didn't speak. The teacher stood on the other side, composed, but tighter now. The principal remained behind his desk, hands folded, eyes moving between them. Sit, he said. They both sat, silence stretched, long enough to feel uncomfortable. Then the principal turned the laptop toward them. Again, the same video, but this time it didn't pause. It played all the way through. No interruptions, no explanations, just truth. The teacher watched, face still, controlled, but her fingers tightened slightly on the armrest. Arman watched too, but differently. Not surprised, not shocked, just tired. When the video ended, the principal closed the laptop slowly. Would either of you like to add something? Silence. The teacher spoke first, measured, careful. As I said before, context matters. The principal didn't react. I was maintaining academic standards, she continued. Encouraging proper pronunciation. That's part of learning. Arman looked at her. That's not what it felt like. The words were quiet, but clear. The teacher turned to him. This isn't about feelings. It is for me. The room tightened again. The principal raised a hand. Let's stay focused. He looked at the teacher. In the video, you say, we don't have time for this. A pause. Who is this? The teacher hesitated, just for a moment. Then, the delay in learning. Or the student? The principal asked. Silence. The teacher didn't answer immediately. I didn't mean it personally, but it was directed at him. Another pause. Yes. The word came slower this time, less certain. The principal leaned back, and the phrase, let's not hold the class back. The teacher inhaled. That refers to pacing. Does it refer to Arman? A longer pause. The teacher's composure shifted. Slightly. It could be interpreted that way. Arman looked down. Interpreted. Like it wasn't real. Like it wasn't said. The principal nodded slowly. Interpretation matters. But so does impact. The room fell quiet. Then, a knock. The door opened. The man with the clipboard stepped in. Same suit. Same sharp eyes. But something was different now. Less neutral. More certain. I hope I'm not interrupting, he said. You're right on time, the principal replied. The teacher straightened. Sir, she said politely. The man nodded, then looked at Arman. Longer than before. You've had quite a week. Arman didn't respond. Didn't know how to. The man stepped closer. Set the clipboard on the desk. This situation has escalated beyond internal review. The words landed heavy. The teacher's expression tightened. I don't understand, she said. The man turned to her. You will... A pause. Then he opened the clipboard, pulled out a document, set it on the desk. The principal read it, slowly, carefully. His expression changed. Subtle, but clear. This is from the board, he asked. The man nodded. Yes. The teacher leaned forward slightly. What board? The man looked at her. Calm, direct. The Academic Oversight Committee. Silence. The name carried weight. Real weight. This video was forwarded to us, he continued, along with a formal concern. Arman's chest tightened. Formal. Concern. Not complaint. Not rumor. Something official. The teacher blinked. I was not informed of any complaint. You are now. The man replied. The principal closed the document, looked at the teacher. This is serious. I've done nothing wrong, she said quickly. Her voice was still controlled, but the edge was showing now. The man stepped closer. Your intent is not the only factor. A pause. Your pattern is... The word hung. Pattern. The teacher's eyes narrowed. What pattern? The man flipped another page. Multiple instances of targeted correction. Public emphasis on one student. Language framing that suggests exclusion. Each point landed, one by one, clear, Documented. The teacher shook her head. This is being exaggerated. Is it? The man asked. He turned to Arman. Have you felt singled out? The room shifted again. All eyes on him. Arman hesitated. Then, yes. The word came out steady. No shake. No doubt. The teacher looked at him. Not angry. Not yet. But something was there. Something sharper. The man nodded. Thank you. He turned back to the principal. At this point, we are moving from observation to action. The air changed. Instantly, the teacher sat up straighter. What kind of action? The man didn't answer immediately. Instead, he closed a clipboard, looked directly at her, and said, We're recommending immediate review of your position. Silence dropped. Heavy. Final. The teacher's face went still. Completely still. That's not necessary, she said. But her voice wasn't as steady anymore. The principal didn't respond, didn't defend, didn't argue, just watched. The man stepped back. This is no longer a classroom issue, he said. It's an institutional one. The words echoed, deep, wide, unavoidable. Arman sat there, still, quiet, but inside, something had shifted. For the first time, it wasn't just him being evaluated. It was her, the system, the structure, everything. And it wasn't over yet, because the man looked at him again and said, We'd like you to speak in front of the panel. Arman blinked. What? The man's expression didn't change. A formal presentation. A pause. Tomorrow. And just like that, the pressure didn't disappear. It moved, shifted, changed direction. But it was still there, waiting. The room was larger than his classroom. Colder too. Rows of chairs. A long table at the front. 5 people seated behind it. Papers. Files. Screens. Watching. Waiting. Arman stood near the door. Hands still. Heart steady but heavy. The man with the clipboard stood beside him. No rush, he said quietly. Take your time. Arman nodded. But time didn't feel like his anymore. Are they all? He asked. Panel members. The man replied. External review. External. Outside the school. Outside the classroom. Outsider control. That mattered. Ready? The man asked. Arman took a breath. Yes. Go ahead. He stepped forward, each step louder than it should be. The panel looked up. One of them, a woman with glasses, spoke first. Arman Khan. Yes, ma'am. Thank you for coming. Her tone was calm, not soft, not cold, balanced. Please stand here, she said, pointing to a spot. He did. The room settled. A man on the panel leaned forward. We've reviewed the footage, he said, but we'd like to hear from you directly. Arman nodded. Can you describe your experience in class? The question sounded simple, but it wasn't. Not here. Not like this. He opened his mouth, paused. Then, she corrects me a lot. A few pens moved. Notes. Fast. Correction is part of teaching, another panelist said. What makes this different? Arman swallowed. It's not just correction. A pause. It's how it's done. The room stayed quiet, listening. She stops me before I finish, he continued. She says I'm slow in class. His voice stayed steady, even when his chest tightened. Do you feel targeted? The woman asked. Arman hesitated. Then, yes. The word echoed, soft but clear. The panel exchanged brief glances. Then, thank you, the woman said. She turned a page. Now, we'd like to hear from your teacher. The door opened. She walked in, composed, professional, but not the same, not fully. Something in her posture had changed, less certain, less in control. She took her seat, didn't look at Arman, not once. Please state your perspective, the panelist said. She nodded. Everything I've done is within academic standards, she began. I've treated all students equally. The words came smoothly. Practice. Controlled. Do you believe your approach impacted the student negatively? Another panelist asked. No, she said quickly. I believe he misinterpreted normal instruction. Arman's fingers tightened slightly. Misinterpreted. Again, the panelists leaned forward. Let's discuss specific language. He read from a document. We don't have time for this. A pause. Who is this? The teacher inhaled. It refers to pacing. Does it refer to the student? Silence. Then, it could be seen that way. Was that your intention? No. The answer came fast. Too fast. The panelist nodded slowly. Intent and impact are not always the same. The room tightened. Another panelist spoke. Were you aware that your comments could isolate the student? I was focused on maintaining standards. Even if it affected his participation? A pause. I didn't believe it did. Arman looked up. For the first time, she sounded unsure. Just slightly. But it was there. The man with the clipboard stepped forward. May I add something? The panel nodded. He opened his file. There are multiple recorded instances, he said. Not just one. The teacher's head turned. Sharp. What? He placed documents on the table. Repeated phrasing. Similar tone. Same student. Pattern. Again, the word didn't need to be said. It was visible now. Clear. The panel reviewed the papers. Silence stretched. Long. Heavy. Then, the woman with glasses spoke. To the class environment. She paused. Were other students engaging in this behavior? The man nodded. Yes. Laughter. Comments. And was it addressed? Silence. The teacher didn't answer. The panelists looked at her. Was it addressed? No, she said quietly. The room shifted. That answer mattered, more than the others, because it showed something deeper. Not just action, but absence. The panelists wrote something down, then looked at Arman. Did you feel supported by your classmates? Arman hesitated. Then, no. The word felt heavier this time, because now it wasn't just about her. It was about the room, the silence, the watching, the choosing not to speak. The panel exchanged another glance. Then the woman closed her file. Thank you, she said. A pause. We will now move to a decision phase. The teacher straightened. This is unnecessary, she said. I've done my job. The room didn't respond, didn't react, just listened. Then the panelist spoke. Calm, clear, effective immediately. You are being placed under administrative review. Silence dropped. Hard. Final. You will step away from teaching duties pending investigation. The words echoed. The teacher's face went still. Completely still. That's not justified, she said. But her voice didn't carry the same weight anymore. The panel didn't argue, didn't explain further. The decision had been made. The man with the clipboard closed his file. Arman stood there, still, quiet, but inside, something had shifted. Completely. The balance had changed. The power had moved. Not fully, not permanently, but enough. Enough to be seen. Enough to matter. The panelists looked at him one last time. We'll need you again tomorrow, she said, for your presentation. Arman blinked. Presentation? Yes. A pause. We want to hear your voice. And for the first time, that word didn't feel like pressure. It felt like something else. Something new. Something important. The hall was bigger than he expected. Rows of seats, soft lights, a stage at the front, and a microphone. Waiting. Arman stood backstage, hands still, breathing slow, but not calm. Not yet. You'll be fine. The voice came from beside him, the man with the clipboard. But today, he wasn't holding it. Today, he looked less like an observer, more like someone who had already chosen a side. This isn't about perfection, he said. It's about clarity. Arman nodded. I know. But his chest still felt tight. What if I mess up, he asked. The man shook his head. You won't. How do you know? A small pause. Then, because you've already been tested. Arman looked at him. That was true. More than this stage. More than this moment. A voice from the front. We're ready. The curtain shifted slightly. Light spilled through. The man stepped back. Go. Arman walked forward, each step steady, but heavy. The stage felt different under his feet, not like a classroom, not like a hallway. This was something else. He reached the microphone, looked out. The panel sat in the front row, watching, focused. Behind them, a few staff members, and farther back, students, some familiar faces, some not. He spotted her, the teacher, sitting in the last row, still, quiet, watching, for once, not in control. Arman faced forward again. The microphone stood still, waiting. So did the room. He took a breath, deep, then, "Good morning." His voice came out clear, steady, no shake, no hesitation. The room didn't move, didn't whisper, just listened. "I was asked to speak." A pause. "So I will." Simple, direct, no extra words, no need. He looked down briefly, then back up. "I understand everything I read." The sentence landed clean. "I always did." A few heads shifted, small movements, attention sharpening. But sometimes I don't say it the way people expect. He let that sit, didn't rush it, didn't fill the silence. "That doesn't mean I don't understand." The words felt stronger now, not louder, but deeper. "It just means I learn differently." A panelist leaned forward slightly, listening closer. Arman continued, "In class, I tried." Short sentence. Clear. "I practice." Another. "I improved." He looked toward the back, just for a second, then back ahead. But it was never enough. The room tightened, not with tension, with focus, because it wasn't just about the words. A pause. It was about how I sounded. The sentence landed heavy. Real. I was corrected before I finished. I was stopped before I explained. Each line hit, measured, controlled. But the hardest part, he paused, let the silence grow, then, was not the correction. Another pause. It was a message behind it. The room didn't move, didn't breathe, like everyone understood, before he even finished, that I didn't belong. There it was, clear, unfiltered, no anger, no shouting, just truth, and that made it heavier. I started to believe that. His voice softened slightly, not weaker, just honest. For a moment, a panelist lowered their pen, listening fully now, but I kept practicing. The words came stronger again. I kept learning. I kept showing up. Each line built, steady, rising, because I knew something. A pause. I wasn't behind. The sentence landed sharp. I was just being seen differently. The room shifted, subtle, but real. He took a breath. Then, an accent is not a mistake. A few heads nodded, small, but visible. It's proof that someone learned more than one way to speak. Silence, deep, full, and if I sound different. He leaned slightly closer to the mic. Then maybe you just need to listen differently. The sentence echoed, not loud, but powerful. He stepped back slightly. Didn't rush, didn't fill the space. Just stood there. Still, the room stayed quiet. No immediate reaction. No applause. Just processing. The panel exchanged glances. Then, the woman with glasses nodded. Slow, clear. "Thank you, Arman." The words felt different this time. Not formal, not routine. Real. Arman stepped away from a microphone, turned, walked off the stage. Each step lighter than before. Not easy, but lighter. As he passed the back row, he didn't stop, but he noticed the teacher was still sitting there, hands folded, eyes fixed forward, not speaking, not reacting, just watching. For once, without control, Arman stepped behind the curtain. The man was waiting. He didn't say anything at first, just looked at him. Then, that was clear. Arman exhaled, slow, long. For the first time, the pressure didn't feel like it was crushing him. It felt like it had moved, shifted, changed shape, but not disappeared. Because somewhere out there, a decision was still waiting. And this time, It wasn't just about him. The room stayed quiet long after he stepped off stage. Not empty, not frozen, just thinking. Arman stood behind the curtain, listening, waiting. Every second stretched. Footsteps approached. The man with the clipboard stepped out. Then another panel member. Voices low. Serious. Arman couldn't hear the words, but he could feel them. Decision. Process. Outcome. The man looked back at him. Stay here, he said quietly. Arman nodded. His hands were still, but his chest tight again. Different pressure now. Not fear of speaking. Fear of what came after. Inside the hall, the panels sat together. Paper spread out. Voices no longer quiet. Focused. This is consistent behavior, one said. Not isolated. Another added. And the classroom environment allowed it. A pause. Then, we can't ignore that. The woman with glasses leaned back. He spoke clearly. Not about pronunciation. About truth. That's not the issue, another panelist replied. It never was. Silence. Heavy. Then, we moved forward. Backstage, Arman heard footsteps again. Closer this time. The curtain moved. The panel entered. All of them. Together. The woman stepped forward. Arman. He straightened. Yes, ma'am. She looked at him. Direct, but not cold. We've reached a decision. The air shifted instantly. He didn't speak, didn't move, just waited. You will remain in your current class. A small breath escaped his chest. Unnoticed, but real, and your academic record will not be altered. Another pause. Then, we are also initiating formal action regarding your teacher. The words landed heavier, more complex. Based on documented behavior, she continued, she will be removed from classroom duties pending disciplinary review. Arman blinked. It was happening, not quietly, not ignored. Real, but the panelists didn't stop. We will also be implementing new oversight policies. A man beside her added, classroom conduct monitoring, student reporting channels. System changes, not just one person. More, bigger. The woman nodded. This should not have reached this point. Her voice softened slightly, but it did. A pause. And that matters. Arman nodded slowly. He didn't know what to say, so he didn't try. The man with the clipboard stepped forward. You did well. Simple words, but they carried weight. Arman looked at him. Thank you. The panel began to turn, but the woman stopped. One more thing. Justice doesn't erase what happened, she said. The sentence landed differently. Not formal, not procedural. Real, but it prevents it from continuing. She held his gaze for a moment. Then they left. The hall emptied slowly. Chairs shifted. Voices returned. Low, measured, Arman stepped out from behind the curtain. The stage looked smaller now, less intimidating, but not light, not easy. He walked down the steps, toward the exit, each step steady, but thoughtful. Near the door, he saw her, the teacher, standing alone. No students, no authority, just standing. She looked at him. For a moment, neither spoke. Then, you think this is fair? She asked. Her voice was quieter now, less sharp, less certain. Arman didn't answer immediately. He looked at her, really looked. I think it was necessary, he said. The words came calm, not angry, not proud, just true. She shook her head slightly. I was doing my job. Not like that. The sentence landed clean. No hesitation. She looked away. For a second, then back. They're overreacting. Or they're finally reacting, Arman said. Silence. The kind that settles. Not breaks. She exhaled. Slow. This will follow me. The words weren't defensive. They were real. Consequences. Arman nodded. It followed me first. That was it. No anger. No raised voice. Just balance. Just truth. She didn't respond. Because there wasn't a response. Not one that worked. Not one that changed anything. After a moment, she turned, walked away. No authority in her steps now. No control, just movement, forward, into whatever came next. Outside, the air felt different. Open, wide, but not light, not completely. Arman stepped onto the pavement. The world moved as usual. Cars passing, people talking. Nothing had stopped, but something had changed. Inside him, he took a breath. Deep, clear, his phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. You spoke well. No name, no explanation. Just that. Arman stared at the screen, then locked it, put it away. He didn't need to know who sent it. What mattered was that someone listened. He started walking. Not fast, not slow, just steady, because this wasn't the end. Not really. It was something else. Something quieter, something heavier, a kind of victory. That came with a cost. And as he walked, he understood that, fully, for the first time. The classroom felt different when he walked in again. Not tense, not loud, just careful. Conversations lowered, chairs moved softer. Even the air felt like it was watching itself. Arman stepped to his desk. Same seat, same window, but not the same feeling. A boy across the room looked at him, then looked away quickly. Another gave a small nod. Not friendly, not rude, just acknowledgement. The girl who spoke to him before approached. Slow. You okay? She asked. The same question, but it sounded different now. I'm fine, Arman said. This time, he meant it. She nodded. I saw your presentation. A pause. You were right. Arman didn't respond, because being right didn't erase anything, didn't undo the days before. The silence between them wasn't awkward. It was honest. I should have said something earlier, she added. Arman looked at her. You didn't. Not accusing. Just true. She nodded. I know. A breath. Next time, I will. That word lingered. Next time. Arman hoped there wouldn't be one. But he understood what she meant. A new teacher walked in. Different posture. Different presence. Good morning, she said. Her voice was calm, but careful, measured, like every word mattered more now. I'll be taking over for a while. A pause. Let's begin. No spotlight, no callouts, no performance, just class, normal, or something close to it. Arman opened his book, page 52. He read quietly. Then, would anyone like to read? The teacher asked. No name, no pressure. Just a question. Silence. Then Arman raised his hand. Slow, but certain. The room noticed. Of course they did. But no one laughed. No one whispered. The teacher nodded. Go ahead. Arman stood, walked to the front. The same place, but not the same weight. He looked at the page. Then began. The Industrial Revolution changed how people worked. Clear, steady, not perfect, but strong. No interruption, no correction, just listening. When he finished, the teacher nodded. Thank you. Simple, respectful, enough. Arman sat down, and for the first time, it felt normal. But normal didn't mean easy, because later, in the hallway, two students walked past him. One whispered, Higar suspended. The other replied, yeah, better not mess with him. They didn't stop, didn't look back, but the word stayed. Different label, same feeling. Arman kept walking, but slower, because now it wasn't just about proving himself. It was about carrying something heavier, visibility. At home, his father sat across from him, tea between them. I heard, he said. Arman nodded. They took action. His father watched him, carefully. Are you happy? The question was simple, but not easy. Arman thought about it. The classroom, the stage, the silence, the looks, the words. I'm okay, he said. A pause. I think. His father nodded slowly. That's honest. Silence settled between them. Not uncomfortable, just real. You spoke up, his father said. That matters. Arman looked down at his hands. I didn't want to go that far. His father leaned back. Truth doesn't ask how far it should go. The sentence stayed. Deep, quiet, true. The next week, things stabilized. No tension, no spotlight, just routine. But something had changed, not just for him, for everyone. Teachers spoke differently. Students listened differently. Even silence felt different. More aware, less empty. One afternoon, Arman stood near the window, watching the courtyard. The same place, the same world, but clearer now. Not easier, but clearer. The girl from before stood beside him. "Do you ever think about it?" she asked. "About what?" "What would have happened if no one recorded it?" Armin didn't answer right away, because he knew. Exactly. "It would have stayed the same," he said. She nodded. "Quiet. That's scary." "It is." A pause. Then, "But now it's not." Not fully true, but not false either. As the day ended, Armin packed his bag. Slow, steady, he walked out of the classroom, into the hallway, into the noise, into everything that continued. But this time, he walked differently. Not louder, not prouder, just certain, because his voice was no longer something to fix, or hide, or question. It was something that had been heard. And once something is heard, it doesn't go back to silence. Not completely. Not ever again.